Welcome to the show, everybody. Today today's my first live stream that I've ever attempted in 4K. I haven't known whether my internet would handle it, so you guys let me know. This is my first ever 4K live stream, so hopefully it's coming through at good quality. If it's not, let me know, and I'm gonna have to revert back to 1080, but I thought, you know what? I've got the technology, I've got the hardware. Let's give it a try and see how it works. In today's live stream, I am going to be going through the second point of the flexibility blueprint. So yesterday, we went through the mechanism of flexibility training. I went through all of this, and if you want to be able to read through all of this yourself, get all of the knowledge out of it, the revised flexibility blueprint for 2025, go over to unitygym.com/flexibility. It's an incredibly valuable document that's going to teach you more about flexibility training that I've ever learned from one source. And today I'm talking about the mobility versus flexibility, a very commonly misunderstood couple of concepts. And I'm going to debunk a few myths here and also hopefully shed some light on this topic. So if you're watching live, please say hello, tell me where you are in the world so that I know that I'm not just talking to myself. And if you've got any questions, get them in and I'll make sure that I answer them. All right, let's get into it. Mobility versus flexibility training. Mobility and flexibility are often used interchangeably, but they are fundamentally different. Mobility is an umbrella term that refers to any movement that takes a joint through its full range of motion. This can be as simple as circling your arms, rolling your shoulders, or performing a deep squat. As long as your joints are moving through their full natural range, you're engaging in mobility work. Flexibility training, on the other hand, consists of more focused and intensive methods designed specifically to increase your mobility over time. Flexibility training involves techniques like loaded stretching, end range strength, and contract relax methods. These methods target not only the muscles but also the nervous system and connective tissues, pushing your body to allow greater ranges of motion. Mobility training. Mobility training is gentle and can be performed as part of your warm-up, cool-down, or even as a recovery session on your rest day. It's a fantastic way to prepare your joints and muscles for more intense activities or to alleviate stiffness and soreness. For example, if you wake up feeling stiff and sore, a quick mobility routine that moves your joints through full range of motion can help you feel more flexible and free in minutes. The aches and pains diminish because mobility training increases blood flow to the joints and surrounding muscles, loosening tight areas and promoting better movement patterns. Mobility exercises are typically low intensity and don't push your body beyond your current range of motion. This makes mobility ideal for everyday maintenance. You can do it regularly, even when you're feeling sore or stiff, because it will always leave you feeling better afterwards. Mobility training is the foundation of healthy movement, keeping your joints functioning properly and preventing the buildup of stiffness over time. Flexibility training, on the other hand, is more demanding and focused. It's not something you do casually or every day, especially for the same muscle group. Flexibility training is much like strength training. It requires focus, effort, and importantly, recovery. When you engage in flexibility training, you're not just stretching passively, you're contracting muscles at the end of your range of motion, pushing your limits and often performing multiple sets and reps to gradually increase your range. Because flexibility training pushes your muscles, tendons, and nervous system to adapt to new ranges of motion, it also requires rest. Just like you wouldn't train the same muscle group 2 days in a row in the gym, you wouldn't do an intense flexibility session for the same muscles back to back. After a good flexibility session, your muscles need time to recover and repair, much like after a strength workout. So in summary, mobility training is gentle and you can do it regularly without needing recovery. It serves as a great warm-up, cool-down, or recovery session and always makes you feel better after you've done it. Flexibility training is demanding, requiring a focused effort to increase your active range of motion. It's intense and often involves end range strength and loaded stretching, so recovery time between sessions is necessary. And here's my story with mobility and flexibility training. When I first learned the difference between mobility and flexibility, it completely changed the way I trained. For years, I had suffered from lower back pain due to a pars fracture, spondylolisthesis, and spondylosis in L4, L5. That's a CT scan of my spine there, and you can see in L4 and L5, you can really see the spondylolisthesis, so that's the alignment of the joints here of the vertebra, and then there's a posterior displacement of L5, and then the spondylosis is the degeneration of the disc. So you can see between my all my other vertebrae, those are healthy discs where there's a nice space between the vertebra, and L4, L5, you can see it's bone on bone. So by all accounts, I should not be able to do what I do without being in excruciating pain. Whenever a sports doctor or an expert sees this, they recommend that I get my spine fused. It makes me laugh. So mobility training gave me control over my movements and helped me manage pain during workouts. However, while mobility was crucial, it didn't unlock the advanced flexibility moves I'd been chasing, like the middle splits. And after my initial breakthrough with mobility training, I transitioned into a flexibility phase, focusing on end range strength and loaded stretching. In just 3 months, I unlocked the middle splits, something I'd failed to achieve for 20 years with static stretching alone. So that's me in doing the middle splits for probably one of the first times. I remember that was the first time I took a photo saying, look, I can do the middle splits, and I took a picture of myself. All right, real world application tips. Use mobility as a daily routine. Incorporate mobility training into your daily routine, especially on days when you're not doing intense workouts. A good mobility session should start with foam rolling and move into full body mobility exercises, such as shoulder rolls, spine mobility, and hip circles and deep squats, to take each joint through its full range of motion. This combination is a low impact way to reduce stiffness, ease soreness, and promote better movement. A quick 20-minute mobility session in the morning or after work can leave you feeling limber, pain-free, and ready for your next workout. Mobility as a warm-up. Use mobility exercises before every workout. Focus on dynamic mobility drills that prepare your joints for the specific workout you'll be doing. If it's leg day, include hip openers and ankle mobility drills. For upper body days, focus on shoulder, elbow, and wrist mobility. Both upper and lower body warm-ups would include spine mobility. Flexibility training sessions. In a flexibility workout, focus on 1 or 2 movements you want to improve, such as the middle splits. Start with end range strength exercises to build strength at the farthest range of motion and hack your nervous system. Follow this immediately with a loaded stretch like the active middle splits to lengthen the muscles under load. Perform 3 to 5 sets of both exercises. Flexibility training requires structured recovery. When you engage in flexibility training, such as loaded stretching or end-range strength exercises, schedule it like you would a strength training session. Remember, flexibility work is intense and requires recovery. Plan to train specific muscle groups no more than 2 to 3 times per week, giving your muscles time to recover between sessions. If you do a deep flexibility workout for your hamstrings on Monday, don't target them again until Wednesday or Thursday. Use mobility training to aid recovery on rest days. End-range contractions and loaded stretching. During an end range contraction, work as hard as possible to contract the muscles at the farthest point of your range of motion, so hard that cramping is common. For example, when reaching for your toes, contract your hip flexors as intensely as possible. After several seconds of maximal effort, immediately follow with a loaded stretch, example, a weighted pancake. This takes advantage of the Golgi tendon organ's function to briefly shut down muscle contractions, allowing for instant flexibility improvements. Conclusion. Understanding the difference between mobility and flexibility will help you structure your training to maximize your results. Mobility work serves as the foundation, keeping your joints healthy and ready for more advanced movements. It prepares the body by increasing control and range of motion within safe limits, allowing flexibility training to be more effective. As you progress, the next step is to integrate mobility and flexibility into a structured, periodized training program. Start by focusing on mobility to create a base of joint strength and stability. Then gradually introduce specialized flexibility exercises that target deeper ranges of motion. This progression ensures that your body is fully primed and capable of handling the demands of advanced flexibility work, reducing the risk of injury and promoting sustainable growth over time. For advanced athletes, mobility becomes a primary component of your workout regime. Use it as part of your warm-up to prepare your joints for the rigors of intense training and as part of your cool down or rest day routines to enhance recovery and solidify the gains made during flexibility sessions. By continuously integrating mobility and flexibility, you build a balanced, intelligent training system that adapts to your body's needs, ensuring long-term progress and helping you perform at your peak. You guys have heard me mention my friend Aaron that I went and did my first mobility session with. That's him there. Aaron and I went to high school together, and we moved out of home together, and he became a personal trainer 5 years before me, when I was still pursuing my career as a stuntman. So that is in a nutshell, what the difference between mobility and flexibility are. And it's something that had eluded me for quite some time. I'd never been given a really good explanation before of what the difference between mobility and flexibility is. And mobility training for me now it's always a warm-up. So I always use mobility training as a warm-up, and it's very, very different to stretching. Stretching before a workout, pretty much before any workout, except maybe a flexibility workout, it sends a really contradictory signal through the nervous system. So for example, when you're doing strength training, if you stretch before strength training and stretching require very different activities within the body, within the muscle fibers, within the nervous system. So when you're stretching, you're sending signals through the nervous system to relax the muscles. You're trying to intentionally relax them. Whereas when you're strength training and you're lifting weights, you're sending very, very fast signals through the nervous system to contract muscles very, very quickly. And so you have to warm up for both of those things, and they're both very, very different. So if you use stretching as a way to warm up before strength training, it's very, very bad. And the same would go for running or any cardio session. If you ever see a runner stretching out before they go for a run, they've really got absolutely no idea what they're trying to achieve by a warm-up. Your warm-ups should be specific. And so the warm-ups that we've developed in the UMS, the Unified Movement System, are specific to strength training and flexibility training, because that's what we do in the same workout. And so when we're doing an upper body warm-up, it's all about loosening up the shoulders, elbows, wrists, and spine, but also doing joint preparation work, so muscle activation work. So you do exercises where you're actually activating your muscles under load, but just very, very briefly. And a good mobility session shouldn't leave you feeling fatigued afterwards. When you finish a mobility session, you should feel ready. You shouldn't feel like, oh man, I need to take a break. Like if you do a warm-up or a mobility session where you have to take 3 or 5 minutes to recover from the session before you go and do your strength training, you haven't really done an effective mobility session. Because a good mobility session, you finish it feeling better than when you started. Like you'll come out of it going, oh man, I feel so good. And so we always do foam rolling first, because foam rolling it has so many great benefits that I talked about in yesterday's live stream. But to recover, it's a fascial massage, so it helps to loosen up fascia. It also increases circulation to the muscles. And it also even massages your arteries, which reduces risk of cardiovascular disease. So it reduces risk of heart attack and of stroke. So it's a really, really good thing and it also just makes you feel really good. If you do a good foam rolling session where you hit your whole body, at the end of it, like I always wake up feeling stiff and older. I'm 46, so I always wake up feeling like I'm getting older. And I start my day with, just 5-7 minutes of foam rolling. And because I've been doing it for a while, I can just bang it out really quickly. And I just feel so much better afterwards. So much so that on any days where I don't start my day with foam rolling and mobility, I feel really stiff and sore throughout the whole day. And if I go several days without doing my 20-minute mobility routine, the pain in my back starts to come back, and I'll start feeling aches and pains in my shoulders. It feels harder to turn my head from left to right. It's so that's what mobility looks like for somebody at my level of training. And for somebody that's starting their flexibility journey, just like I outlined in that chapter of the Flexibility Blueprint, the mobility is such a good place to start for anybody with their flexibility training. I was very advanced with my training when I started with mobility, so I'm careful to not say this is where beginners should start, because it doesn't matter if you're a beginner or if you've been training for 10 or 15 years like I had been when I started my mobility training. So I started training when I was 17, And that's if I don't include all the, little stints that I did in martial arts when I was a kid. But I really committed to martial arts training when I was 17, and from there I never stopped training very regularly. And then I was in the army as an infantry soldier from age 30 to 34. So that was very intense training, but with absolutely zero flexibility work. And then when I got out of the army, I started getting into weightlifting and calisthenics. And so by the time I started flexibility training when I was 36, or mobility training first, I was not what you would call a beginner. But I started with the 20-minute mobility routine. And that gave me a huge level up because of all the reasons that I've just outlined there. And so everybody that we've worked with at Unity Gym that's had the most profound result from flexibility training, people who have unlocked the middle splits. Some of these people I'm going to tell their stories tomorrow in tomorrow's episode, where I'm going to talk about the next part of the flexibility blueprint. And if you're just tuning in, go and get the flexibility blueprint. You can get it at unitygym.com/flexibility. And hey, if you're getting value out of this and you enjoy my live streams, please subscribe. Hit the subscribe button and click the notification bell so you get notified when I go live every day. And so everybody started with mobility training, had this level up, had this where they're able to squat deeper, where their ankle flexibility improves, where their hips open up, where they start to not feel back pain and hip pain and knee pain and shoulder pain anymore. And then eventually the natural progression, when that becomes a habit, is that they move into more advanced and more demanding flexibility training and work on unlocking things like the middle splits and back bridges and things like that. So it's a really nice evolution. And I think where a lot of people go wrong is that, they're doing routines or they're working on methods that aren't the best place for them to start. And they're not using something that is structured, that they can lock in and know that if I do this, this many days a week, that it's going to lead to this result, and always trying something different, or not being sure if what they're doing is going to produce the result that they're doing. So they're, not doing it with the right intent or the right intensity. And, when you get this right, you will have this beautiful natural progression with flexibility. It just happens nice and smoothly. Every week, every month, you can feel real differences in your range of motion and in your ability. So if you guys have any questions, anybody who is watching now, let me know. I do have a class that I have to teach in 15 minutes. I've got to leave soon. So this is your last chance. If you've got any questions, get them in. And if you've got any topics that you want me to talk about on these live streams, then let me know. Let me know in the comments. If you're watching this replay later or listening to the podcast, let me know. And for anybody that's watching, please tell me, please at least say this: is my 4K stream working okay? Are you guys getting any lag? Is there any issue? Is anybody watching it in 4K? Because this is a test for me. I've never done a 4K stream before, and sadly in Australia our internet is not as good as what yours is over in the States. And when I checked the requirements for 4K streaming, my internet fell just the tiniest little bit short, but it's a very stable connection. So please, can anybody tell me, is this working well for you? I would love to know. Say, no, it's working terribly, or yes, it's working well. Because if it is working well, then I'm going to continue streaming in 4K. And I guess I'll just have to watch the replay and see what it's like for myself. All right, team. Well, it looks like we don't have any questions, so I am going to wrap this up. Thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in. I hope you got value out of it. If you want to get the full flexibility blueprint, it will teach you so much about flexibility training and mobility. Go to unitygym.com/flexibility, and I will see you in tomorrow's episode, where I continue unpacking the flexibility blueprint. Have a wonderful day, everybody.